Welcome to Mountain Climbers. I'm especially excited for this episode because I get to be nostalgic and relive my college glory days at Asbury University. I am so honored that Lisa Harper is my guest today. Lisa is the Alumni Director at Asbury, and she was my mentor for the 3 years I went to college there. So, this interview for me is so cool because for the first time in Mountain Climbers, I have the privilege of being a part of my guest's climb. Have you ever met someone and then thought, ugh, this did not go well? Well, believe it or not, that's precisely what happened with Lisa and I after our first encounter. We left each other thinking, God, what are you doing? You got this one wrong. But as always, God knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew exactly what Lisa and I needed, and that was each other. You see, he saw ahead, and he knew that Lisa could help me get over hurt and the insecurities that grew because of that pain, and he knew that I could help Lisa through the anger and bitterness she felt because of a life changing illness that just came out of nowhere. And so we helped each other in ways we never could have imagined. And so let's now go meet up with her via Zoom. And I know that this woman who's had a tremendous impact on me is going to bless you in so many ways because you'll take away two profound truths from her story. And that is never discount a meeting with someone because it could be a divine appointment. And whatever you lose as you climb your mountain, if your strength comes from God, you will make it to the top. Hey Lisa, welcome to Mountain Climbers.
Thank you, Whitney. So glad to be here.
I am so excited because we get to reminisce today. So it's going to be like a walk down memory lane. So thank you for coming on, and especially I appreciate it because I know a lot of what you're going to share might be difficult to remember, but I love what you told me that, looking over the questions and thinking about like what you were going to say helped you remember where God brought you from. And I hope that's one thing that comes out of this interview, that people will remember where God brought them from and just be so thankful and in awe of what he's done for them. So I can't wait to see how this interview is going to impact so many people because I know it will. And so like I'm excited because I get to go back to my college roots, Asbury University, and talk about that. So people might not know you work at Asbury, but you also went to Asbury. So what year did you graduate from Asbury, and what was your degree in?
Wow, that was such a long time ago. I should be celebrating my 30th reunion this
Oh
summer.
my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, so I graduated in 1990 and I graduated with an English degree.
Okay, I was 2 years old.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So English, that's cool. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
Well,
long ago.
yeah, that's awesome. So when did you begin working at Asbury, and what was your first job there?
So I began working at Asbury in 1991
Okay,
and I began in the admissions office. I was a staff assistant.
okay, cool.
Then kind of just worked my way through the Asbury family
Yeah,
and went from the admissions office to public relations, and I was there for almost 15 years, and then moved over to admissions, and now I've landed in alumni world.
okay, that's awesome. So how many years did you work at Asbury before you became the director of admissions? And the reason I'm asking you that is because that's what role you played when we met.
Right. So I think I just moved into the admissions office. I'd been there maybe a year or two when you came through the doors. And I had already been at Asbury about 15 years.
Okay, that's awesome. And now you, like you said, you're the alumni director. So
Mhm.
how are you enjoying that? Is it vastly different from admissions director?
It is, but what a privilege it is to see people. So I've gotten the benefit of seeing people where they start
Yeah.
and going through the college process and working with families, and then all the way to now how they're making that big impact in life. And it's really quite amazing to see our alumni all over the world and what they're doing. So that has been a huge privilege.
Yeah, I like you've gotten both sides of like the coin. So, you know,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. So, what drew you to Asbury so much that not only did you go to school there, but you're like, oh, I want to work there too.
And so this is a great part of my story, and actually even a part of what we'll talk about in a little bit later. But there's such a wonderful community here. And
Hmm.
I have really enjoyed being a part of this community, a part of a place that we don't always agree with each other. It's definitely not perfect,
Yeah.
but we have a mission, and we want to be the best people that we can be to reflect God's love and his light.
Hmm.
And it has been good to see Asbury. It's been hard sometimes to see Asbury struggle through some really difficult times.
Yeah.
But it's the same with our students and with our alumni and even with my colleagues. And we get to come alongside of each other. And part of what I love to do is work at a place that I believe in. And
Yeah.
I believe in the mission.
Hmm. That's great. When I went to school there, that's one of the things I love most about Asbury is the community. I mean, you just feel it when you step on campus. I mean, it's just amazing. My parents graduated from Asbury, and that's one of the things they love the most. And I think that's what every person who's graduated or gone to Asbury in some capacity would say. The community is the best there. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. But when did you decide that you would become a mentor in the women's mentorship program at Asbury?
So you prepared me for that question, and I cannot remember when I said yes because I've been there for so
Yeah,
long.
yeah,
It's been a long time, but I did it for a couple of years and then I backed away.
okay,
And then I would start again because when I had my boys, when they were young, it was really hard to do it all.
yeah,
But at different points in my career, I was able to be a part of the women's mentoring program, and it was impactful for me as well.
that's awesome. Now, if I remember correctly, at one point you were paired up with a young woman. You guys clicked like instantly, and you had such a great experience that when she graduated, you were ready to retire. Like you wanted to end on a high note, and you were done. That's right, right?
That is completely correct.
Okay.
It was a great experience, and I didn't think that it could be replaceable. And honestly, I was probably just a little bit tired
Yeah,
and ready to do something differently.
yeah,
And I was done.
yeah. But God had other plans. And the director of the program came to you and said, I have this young woman who has signed up to be a part of the mentorship program. And I just really feel led of the Holy Spirit that you're supposed to mentor this girl. I know you said you were done, but would you consider coming back? I mean, what did you think? How long did it take you to even give her an answer?
That is a great question. When I first read the email, I didn't respond because in my heart I just knew I was weary,
Yeah,
and I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to be guilted into it, and
yeah.
that was a big part of it. And I wanted to make sure my heart was in the right place,
Hmm.
but also I understood the need
Yeah,
and the value of that mentoring relationship. So I said a tentative yes.
yeah. So viewers, if you haven't figured it out yet, that young woman was me. And, I can say this, Lisa, because we've talked about this, but it's kind of comical. That first meeting was terrible. I mean,
It was
it
awkward.
was awful. And I think we both just, walked away thinking, God, what are you doing? Like, you got this one wrong. What were your thoughts after that meeting?
Um, so it was just it was funny to me, and it really was one of those times where you go, I'm just really not feeling this, and I don't think you are either. I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
So let's just think about this and maybe take a step back and maybe find someone else to do the job, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we both thought that. If I remember correctly, we read a book together, Redeeming Love, and it did not go well. But little did we know, God was orchestrating things. He was behind the scenes. He knew we needed each other. He knew that I needed you to push me out of my comfort zone and help me realize my worth. And he knew that I would be able to understand and sympathize with the health crisis that just suddenly changed your world when you were diagnosed with Crohn's. I mean, I can imagine how difficult that would be, because up until that point you were healthy. So when did you realize that something wasn't right in your body?
Yeah, I think a lot of things were just not right in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, my body was becoming just a symptom of the problems that I was experiencing. My marriage was falling apart, and I worked at a Christian institution, and I felt the pressure to be perfect and to appear that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not to be perfect, but to have the appearance of
Yes.
having it all together. And I just kept getting sick. I was having stomach concerns and issues, and I just could not seem to catch a break. And I thought I had the stomach flu
Yeah.
or a virus, and it didn't go away. It just kept continuing to get worse and worse and worse. And over Christmas break, finally went to the doctor, and my doctor said, "I think you have Crohn's," and so he took me to a GI.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what Crohn's was. Looking back, I really had very little empathy for illness, and I really had no time for it.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything. And ha ha ha, you don't get to determine that.
Yeah.
And
No
so I said,
respecter person.
no respect. That is exactly right. And so I went to a GI, and my first GI said, "Well, I think you have Crohn's, but it's a really mild case of it, and basically just suck it up and you'll get better."
Yeah.
So, as you know, we continued to meet through that spring, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And this is the part where, for me, it was such a God thing to be placed with you, because not only do you have great empathy, it might make me cry to even talk about it. You have great empathy, but you're very pragmatic. And you were very practical, and you became a safe person for me to talk to. You mentioned earlier, I mean, some of those feelings that came out, and you were a person that I could talk to about some really hard things that I was going through from a physical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
that no one understood better than you, and no one experienced to the same level that you did. And it also helped me put in perspective what I was facing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not alone in this, but I'm also not, it's not as bad
Mm-hmm.
could have been.
Yeah.
You were not well at school. You were battling some really serious physical concerns,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you battled through them every day. Every day.
Yep. Yeah.
So I was very thankful.
Well, on my side, I was thankful because, I was struggling with, okay, like, I don't feel pretty. Like, I don't feel like I can get out of my comfort zone. I don't feel like I can do this. And you're like, you can't do it. So on my end, I needed you too. So here we are crying together. See, we're a good match. We're a good
I know. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed all these years. And I think some of the great advice you gave me, well, first of all, it was just that you have a great family. You had great family support.
I do.
One really practical thing you said is keep a notebook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Of all the paperwork, and because the paperwork is extensive as you start going from doctor to doctor to doctor.
It's overwhelming.
It's scary to have to keep track of all of that. And then one thing you told me was that you are your own self-advocate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like I've gone through life, or I've gone to doctors, and I leave it up to them, and I don't tell the whole story because I don't want to complain, or don't
Yeah,
do anything wrong.
yeah,
It's really,
yeah,
this is my story. This is what's happening. Help me fix it.
yeah. And then there's another side of it too. You know, most doctors are great; they'll listen to you, but there's some doctors who are arrogant. Do not second guess the diagnosis they are giving you. This is it. And so like there is that, like um, what's the word? Intimidation. When
Right.
you are with a doctor. So it's like you're kind of feeling okay. When do I push? When do I kind of take a step back? It's tough, but yeah, I mean that's the best advice I give anyone who has a chronic illness. You have to be yourself advocate. You know your body better than anyone, and you know what you.
Right.
So, but when you receive that official diagnosis of Crohn's, you talked a little bit about it. What emotions did you feel? What thoughts were you thinking when they said, they think you have Crohn's?
Yeah. So the first thing you do is you go and look up what is this disease, and you see all the horrible all the horrible stories about it,
Yeah,
and it just becomes really scary and daunting.
yeah,
And I was angry, and I was angry about the disease, but I was angry about a lot of things in my life that I had no control over.
yeah,
This was a big one of not being able to fix it. And
mm-hmm.
even if I could fix it, it doesn't mean that it goes away, because Crohn's is treatable, but it's not curable.
Yes,
So that was overwhelming to me,
mm-hmm.
and it changed a lot of my life. And
Yeah,
I had been healthy. I had been able to work as many hours as I could and go to all the ball games and do all the things with my children. And all of a sudden, I mean, I was just exhausted
yeah,
and fatigued beyond measure. And I think what I learned most about chronic illness is it's very isolating,
yes, so true.
very isolating, and it can be humiliating. It can be debilitating. It can be, you feel the anger. I felt grief, and I was very angry. I was angry about a lot of things, but I got to focus it all on this one disease.
Yeah,
Just was angry that my life had changed, that my food habits had changed, that I
yeah,
couldn't do things that I wanted to do.
yeah,
And God, why?
mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine. And you talked about like it's not curable, but it's treatable, and you had to change your eating habits. But let's dive into that a little bit more because, like you said, before you were diagnosed, you knew nothing about Crohn's. And so just explain to the viewers what Crohn's disease is, how serious it is, and when you're diagnosed with it, you have to make a complete lifestyle change.
Yeah. So it's an autoimmune disease where your body basically attacks food, and it it avoids food. It will not let your body digest or get any of the nutrients. So 60 or 70 years ago, 50 years ago, people died of starvation with Crohn's.
Wow.
That's what it eventually does. And a lot of people can manage Crohn's through different treatments. And I'm on a treatment called Remicade, and I go every 8 weeks to get an IV. And it has saved my life, and I'm in remission, and it's been great.
Amazing.
But that first year and a half is a lot of trial and error. And you know this, having a chronic disease,
Yeah.
you fix one thing and something else breaks. And
Yes.
try one medication and that might not work well for you, but then you have to wait another couple of months to let your body heal from that in order to different medication. And insurance determines a lot of what you can and cannot take.
Oh, yes.
We could talk forever about that.
Yes, we could.
So it is a disease that attacks people differently. It typically happens as a 40-year-old woman. When it hit me, that was pretty untypical. And it's it can be life changing, but if you're able to be in remission, then it's fine. But a lot of people have to hit rock bottom, their
Yeah.
bodies do, and then you're able to have surgeries and begin building your way back up
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you for explaining that, because I know some people might not understand, what Crohn's is. And I mean, yes, like it's, not that people, life threatening in the sense where people, die from it or that kind of thing, but it changes your lifestyle, and you can have severe pain and agony from it. And so it's not a fun disease, especially when you're in the trial and error stage, like you were talking about.
It's horrible.
Figure out.
It's really embarrassing too, because really basically food just runs right through you and you have no control of it.
Yeah.
So for people who are controlling to begin with, I mean, this is just another iteration of that loss of control. And
yeah,
it changed just the lifestyle that I was used to living, running and going and doing and eating out of convenience. And I got really, really, really sick.
Yeah, you did.
All kinds of weight, and then had to have multiple surgeries. But that was unfortunately, that was just part of my journey.
Yeah. And, I remember you got to the point when things weren't working. And this is what I love about you. Like you said, some Christians have to give the appearance that they're perfect. I'm okay, nothing bothering me. But you just were raw and real, and I loved that. You would look at me and say, "I'm angry. I have to give up Mountain Dew, and I don't want to." Like you would just, you were like just real, and I loved it. And you had every right to be, because I mean, your life completely changed. So, what I want to know is, how did you get past what you were losing and can't do to focus on what you had and could do?
That's such a great question. I think that's one of those questions that really, to me, was a good reflection point, because I think I found out things that I could do because I had people that I could be real with.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge part of the healing process, and the grieving process is you have to have people that you can talk to, who are not going to condemn you, who are not going to pity you, but be empathetic. And you were one of those safe people for me at a time where I thought I should be leading you. You were a person who was leading me in a way to face hardship and trial, and at that time, just huge change for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the little things that really made me angry, because I felt like I was losing things that, in the big scheme of things, didn't matter, because I was a person, but why me? So I had to wrestle through this with God, and I had some good community people come around me, my colleagues. Asbury was a safe place for me to do that. And I got to a point where I think you realize, okay, this is my life and this is what I'm going to do. And so let's figure it out. And then start figuring it out.
Yeah. And you did get to that point, and where you finally accepted it, and you like, okay, I can continue to be bitter, or I can be better. And that's the point where everyone gets with a chronic illness, and you finally got there. And I just think it was like I said, I loved it because you were real with your feelings, and I think that's what helped you get past that and shift your focus to the joy in the cans. And so I definitely appreciated that about you. Now, you mentioned Remicade that you take, and that did help, but eventually you had to have surgery, right?
I did. So I had an aggressive form of Crohn's that really did not respond well to Remicade. It responded, but by the time I started on Remicade, my body had been so damaged
Mhm.
that it wasn't able to stop the spread of the disease.
Sure.
So I went into the hospital at about 111 pounds, and they took, I'm 5'8", so
I was getting ready to say you were a tall woman, so that.
that was a little bit, it was, it was not a great place to be, and it was incredibly, incredibly painful, incredibly painful. The way my doctor described it is your colon is like the top of an eraser on a pencil. It's about that size.
Uh-huh.
And my colon was so inflamed and so swollen that it was actually the size of a hair was how food could get through. So anytime I would eat, it would feel like glass was going through my body.
Ugh.
And it was so incredibly painful that you just don't eat because
Yeah.
it hurts too much. And then there are the consequences of that. I think by the time I went into the hospital, I was eating like 3 Fritos a day. And that, and maybe drinking a little bit of water, and I would sneak some Mountain Dew every now and then. But so I went to the hospital and had had about 12 to 14 inches of my colon removed.
Mhm.
But 2 days later, after having this surgery, my colon burst, and I was in the hospital for another 2.5 weeks. And when I came out, I had a I had a ileus, I can't say it. I had a colostomy bag.
Okay.
And that was devastating to me because it was so incredibly painful, and it was just another loss in my life. And I had wonderful people around me to help me. And it's surprising the people that come alongside of you. It's not necessarily the people that you think
Yeah.
are the ones who help you through the hard times. But I was pleasantly surprised by God's community.
Mhm.
And it took me such a long time to come back from that. And as you know, just coming back from surgeries is incredibly difficult. But
Yeah.
down to like 83 pounds, was so weak. I mean, walking 2 or 3 steps was an accomplishment.
Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
It was really horrible.
Yeah. Oh my, that's awful. Now, to put it into perspective for people watching this, you actually almost died on the operating table, right?
I did, and they weren't sure I was going to make it. So it was just a lot of stuff, and of course I don't remember all of that, but I do have flashbacks, and I had nightmares for months afterwards of the process. And I think as I was going through mine, you were going through your own surgeries as well. So
Yeah.
our paths, unfortunately, were really shadowing each other.
They
And
were.
you were so sick too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, my GI doctor, when I had that surgery, was sure that she was going to tell me that I had Crohn's. Thankfully, thank goodness, I did not. But yes. So I kind of got what you were going through, but not to the extent that what you went through. Like, it's, yeah, I can't imagine. And you definitely have a lot of strength, so I definitely admire you. And I like to know, when you became lucid enough for them to tell you how bad things were, you actually almost died. We didn't think you were going to make it. Was that hard to process?
I think it was hard for me to process because it was hard for my boys to see it happen.
How old were they?
They were 13 and 9.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I to watch them watch me struggle, that really hurts my heart because I wasn't the mom that they were used to, and they really had to come alongside me, and really were the ones who took care of me in a lot of ways. So, but it just brings about a totally different understanding of people who deal with chronic illness, and gives them an empathy that they might not have had before. It also, I wish my family would have gone through counseling.
Yeah.
Because I think the illness impacts everybody around you. And my parents, my mom worried and worried and worried about me. And she carried a huge load of burden, me, my health, and my family, and became a prayer warrior on behalf of me, and was one of those advocates. But it took its toll on them, and it took its toll on my family and my boys, and my, as I said. So it's a lot. It doesn't, disease does not impact one person. I mean, we all impact each other. So that's probably what I learned the most.
Yes, that is so true. Because I mean, yes, it affects the person it's attacking the most. That's who it affects the most. But the people who love you, I mean, it hurts them to watch you physically.
Right.
And so yes, it definitely. And then like, you know, for instance, when you are kind of, you know, teetering from this world, you know, to heaven, they have to make those decisions.
Right.
And that's not easy to do at all. So I totally agree. Disease doesn't only affect you, it affects so many people that you're, you know, have relationships with. So yes, that's good advice. And I also love that you shed light on the fact that biblical counseling is so helpful when it comes to chronic illnesses, because it is, because you don't realize the scars, the anger, the insecurities that you're bearing deep down. And you know, I you know, realized that, and you know, I even, you know, started going through counseling because I needed, you know, just to unload all that hurt that I didn't realize I stuffed deep down into my heart. So I think that's great advice for people who have chronic illnesses, definitely. So how long did it take for you to recover from the surgery? And did the surgery eventually, I know it was a hard, long road, but did it eventually make a difference?
Absolutely. And my doctor all along, I mean, I really have to give a shout out to Dr. Bellin and his team, because they kept saying, Lisa, you have the building blocks. It's just going to take time to get better. And it was a whole year before I was really back to normal again. And you know, I mean, it's a year of highs and lows, and new normals, and trying out different things, and going back to some really old bad habits again. It's all the feels, but I did become healthy again. And I didn't know what to do with myself in that role.
Yeah.
But then there's a fear of it's going to come back. And is this it? Am I going to go in the hospital again? You know, what is that going to be? So it was a lot of trial and error, and just a lot of different pieces. But I think for me, it was a wonderful moment when I walked into my doctor's office, probably a year later, for a checkup.
Yeah.
I sat down and I realized, it was an aha moment of, I am not the same person I was a year ago.
Yeah.
I am better, and I can sit in this room and I'm not in pain. I am not anxious. I am better. And it was amazing. It was an amazing feeling, and I was so grateful. So grateful. I had such empathy for all the people that are in the space that I was. Chronic illness, I think, probably one of the difficulties of it, and of many difficulties, but a lot of times it's hidden. Like, it's not a physical, you can't see it on somebody, and you might have a really great day and people think you're better.
Yes.
And the day is not a day.
Yeah.
You're paying for it. And it's hard to understand, I think, from an employment standpoint, from a family standpoint, but
Yeah, because
that is part of it.
yeah, and I think that's one thing that people don't understand if they're not around people who have chronic illnesses, that you do have good days and bad days. Because people who aren't familiar with that, they'll see you have a good day, and then you're sick the next day, and they'll think, oh, they're not as sick as they say they are, and they're just milking this disease for all it's worth. And when what they don't realize is when you have a good day, you're going to live life to the fullest.
Yeah,
Because
you celebrate.
yeah, you celebrate. You want to get those milestones and see what limits you can surpass. And so yeah, I think that's a great thing to shed light and educate people on, so they do have more empathy for people like us who have invisible chronic illnesses. So that's great. And so this surgery was 7 or 8 years ago, and like you said, you're in remission, right?
I'm in remission and just had my Remicade treatment this week. So
So wonderful.
yes, I'm so thankful when they come, and it's been great. I feel very blessed. I would not want anyone to ever have a chronic illness. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yeah.
But I think it does allow us to see people differently.
Mm-hmm.
I do hope that if people are facing that they are able to find good people to come alongside of them to speak truth into their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult journey.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for you, Whitney, for what you're doing and for your determination. I mean, wow, truly what an impactful person you are. And
Well, the feeling's mutual.
well, I'm thankful. It's really funny. I am thankful that Joy put us together for a reason.
Yes.
That Lord knew that I would need you, and that we could come together in a unique and very special way. So
yeah, it's one of the coolest relationships I am a part of. Just when I think back about all the details and just what God orchestrated.
many.
He's the greatest puzzle maker, like we don't see how the puzzle pieces are going to fit together, but he does. And like you said, the aha moment, like when he puts it all together and you see the big picture, it's like, aha, like that's why. So that I love it. And are you able to drink Mountain Dew now?
All the time.
Praise Jesus.
It's my favorite thing. So
That is so awesome. So I want to end on this note. I believe in this interview, we've faced two mountains. And so I believe these last two questions are very important for you to answer. So we'll tackle question number one first to this last question. And that is, how do you invest in someone that it appears, at least at first, you have absolutely nothing in common with them? Your personalities don't click. Like we said, that was our story. That's what happened. But God made it very clear to us that he was in it. So how would you advise someone to keep investing in that person, being intentional and getting to know them while they're waiting to see what God's purpose is with it?
yeah, so I mean, I think it's true about a lot of relationships, and sometimes you have to, your word means something.
Mhm.
And we have a responsibility to be intentional about the commitments that we make.
Mhm.
And we never know, we're never guaranteed that our relationships are going to work and to be smooth and seamless. So I think, first of all, I would recommend just taking a chance and mentoring people, because mentoring has a lot of different facets.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to look the same for every person. And sometimes it can just be friendship and advising each other and just listening and
Yeah.
Sharing stories,
Mm-hmm.
hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And that is mutually impactful for both people. So, and I also think we have to be committed to our commitments.
Yes, I agree.
And oftentimes we say yes, but we really meant maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We say yes and we really meant no, but we said yes because we felt guilted into it. And I think our yeses should be yeses and our nos should be nos.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, though.
Yes.
For the worst person to do that, but
yeah.
But I am thankful that we persevered.
Yes.
Together.
Me too. I mean, look what we would have missed out on. So, like, people watching this, like, keep at it. Like, look what you could potentially have. So, yes, just climb that mountain until you've reached the top. And I promise you, you will not regret it. But yeah, I agree. I love that you said, be committed to what you say you're going to do, because that's definitely lacking in our society today. People just aren't consistent with, their answers. And so consistency and commitment goes a long way. And so I love that. It's so wise, such a gold nugget. But to wrap it all up, what advice would you give someone who's just really angry and bitter because for what other reason their life's changing radically? How can they look past what they've lost as they climb the mountain to drawing from God's strength so they can keep climbing and make it to their mountaintop victories?
That's such a great question, and I don't think there's an easy one answer solution to that. But I think just allowing yourself the space to hear the word of God, to allow God to use the people around you to speak truth, to share love with you, I think it is a big way to overcome some obstacles of envy or hate or bitterness. And bitterness, as we know, I mean, it's once it gets rooted, it's really difficult to let go of that.
Yeah.
And I think having a good community of people that you trust, you might not always want to listen to, but having them around you is a great way to help remove that from you. And then also, I would say service. If we are able to look beyond ourselves, and I think this is the beauty of a mentoring relationship is that I could speak to you about my concerns, and you would hear it, and then you could speak to me about some of your concerns, and I could hear it.
Yes.
I might be able to speak and encourage you, which takes my eyes off myself.
Yeah.
So I think if we are able to come alongside of other people to maybe become great advocates, and I think we can move beyond the anger and the bitterness. And again, counseling is also just a great opportunity to help you with that too. Use all the tools and the resources that God provides for us.
Exactly. I agree that's so wise. And people definitely need to heed that. I love that because God gives us, like you said, tools and avenues, and he gave us a brain and common sense to access those things. And if we don't, it's on us, not on him. And so, I love that. And I love your journey. I thank you for sharing it. It's so cool. I mean, it was quite a road. Like, this wasn't just easy from point A to point B. I mean, you had a lot of, peaks and valleys and cliffs to climb over, and you were just victorious, and you allowed God to teach you so many things, but you also kept it real and then shifted your focus to what you could do and the joys in life. And I'm just so thankful that you're showing everyone that no matter what you lose as you climb the mountain, if your strength comes from the right source,